I asked my son, because I said, you want to do it in a TED Talk style. So I asked my 16-year-old son what a TED Talk was. And he said, wasn't that a film about a teddy bear who got pissed and smoked weed? And I realize now I've been given a bad brief by a 16-year-old son. So if I start slurring and having a puff, it's all gone wrong. Okay. Also, another thing that's been troubling me since Julian's presentation about the elephant, because actually my son went on safari in the summer and came back and said he'd bought an elephant. So I genuinely rang my wife to say, was it on a lease? But actually, he genuinely has outright purchased an elephant, which you can do. So I don't know whether he should have funded it in a better way, because I imagine the residual was probably pretty strong. Anyway, I'm here to talk about something. I haven't got Bucks Fizz in my presentation. I'm gutted, so mine's going to be dull in comparison. So I'm talking about the very dull subject of finance success in the customer car journey in the world of micro moments. What on earth does that mean? Well, firstly, let's have a bit of context setting. What a difference a decade makes. If we look back 10 years, we didn't have these. The iPhone didn't exist 10 years ago. Probably about 5 minutes' time, you're all going to be looking at your iPhones, wondering when you're going to order your taxi on Uber. But we didn't have iPhones. We also didn't have ubiquitous Wi-Fi. We now expect to have Wi-Fi wherever we go. I went on holiday in summer to a little Turkish village, thinking I'm going to get away from it all. You would go out to this lovely little kind of taverna, whatever they call them in Turkey, in the evening, and the first question all my kids were, so what's the Wi-Fi code? What's the Wi-Fi code? As though they couldn't possibly live without a Wi-Fi code, and therefore it's taken as a norm. We also have the whole Internet of Things, whatever that might be. What on earth was that 10 years ago? Some of us are still asking what the Internet of Things is, but everything is connected. This is a Nest thermometer, which we own a company, Nest, which you can kind of set your thermometer remotely. If there's anyone from Daimler in the room, you can, from your Mercedes car, you can set the temperature of your house on the way home. So it's kind of cool stuff like that. But 10 years ago, none of that existed. And Automotive, 10 years ago, I think Tesla had been around for 2 years and no one had really heard of them. But now everyone talks about them all the time. Whether they're relevant or not, I'll let you make your judgment. In terms of connectivity, in terms of lane departure, all that kind of stuff, that didn't really exist 10 years ago, but actually now virtually every car has got some form of that. And equally, monkeys like us are having a go at building cars. We didn't do very well first time around. It's not the prettiest, but we might try a little bit harder, but it's quite a clever thing. So what actually have all these changes bring? Well, the fact is the world is connected. And more the world is connected every day. And this technological change has accelerated absolutely everything and has actually made a profound shift in the way that all our consumers think. And actually, if people in the room thinking, actually, he's just talking about retail, I'm talking about B2B, I'm talking about everything, we're all consumers. And the way we think has completely shifted in terms of our preferences, in terms of our expectations, and in terms of our behaviors. And for those who weren't listening last time, I'm going to repeat it. In this era, cross-screen is king. You have to be across every screen in your business. 90% of consumers cross between more than one device every day. Okay? Therefore, they are expecting you to be seamless across all the devices. There is no such thing as Mrs. Desktop, Master Mobile, and Timothy Tablet. They don't exist as people. We're all across all of the devices all the time, and therefore they will expect you to be there across all devices absolutely seamlessly if you genuinely want to engage with them. So new terms of engagement have emerged, and primarily they're on this. Okay? They're on this. Consumers no longer go online. We live online. We're constantly connected, and that connectivity is made up of a million little moments that we have every day. Our consumer has, and we have, instant access to everything, and therefore the consumer expects us to engage on their own terms. They also know that we know their intent. They also want absolute immediacy, okay? We all are time poor, or we think we're time poor. We need to react really, really quickly. I think Amazon have calculated that they make an extra 1% in revenue for every 100 milliseconds, their page load speeds increases. Okay, you can do some maths there. It's a lot of money. Okay, but a customer is highly demanding. They're expecting immediacy, and they also understand now that we, as marketeers, understand the context. So they're expecting to use that context that we have in our response. So as I say, the key is in mobile. We look at our mobile phones 150 times a day. You'll look at it about 250 times in the next 20 minutes, but 150 times a day. I find it fascinating when you go in a tube in London, it's almost like you're coming up for air as you come out of the tube, and everyone desperately gets their mobile phone out as if the world has ended between the two stops they've just got in. Everyone's constantly connected. And that's really changed everything. And therefore, from our point of view, we think moments are critical.
Grinding sound when you turn the key.
Hopefully you recognize quite a lot of those moments. For all us Englishmen in the room, we didn't recognize let's stay for the finals moment, but we can live in hope. But let's get a foreign manager, we might have a go. Right, so therefore the moment we're talking about here is this moment, the we're going to need a bigger car moment. And how does finance play a role in that? Now these moments take place all day long, wherever we might be. And actually interspersed within these moments is what we even call micro moments. This has become the new frontier. This is where you need to be. You need to be at those moments that matter, wherever they might be. Your job is to connect the dots. You've got to identify what those micro moments are that are relevant to your particular business. You therefore need to deliver on the needs of that moment. Therefore, it involves listening to what the consumer is wanting at that point in time. And then you need to measure it. Automotive industry, not great at measuring everything, anything. Definitely anything. You need to measure it, to be efficient. Measure what's working, how your moments are working. Now, this has changed the customer automotive journey forever. When I was young, the customer journey looked like this. Yeah. Dad says we're buying a new car, got in the Cortina, drove from dealership to dealership to dealership, picking up brochures along the way, getting advice because that was the only way you could get it. And probably when we decided what car we went to the dealership and he probably sold us some finance, the old model. We know that no longer exists. So therefore, does the customer journey look more like this? Look at an online video, look at a manufacturer website, look at a car review site, comparison site, dealer site, maybe a finance site. Does it look like that? Yes, we all say, no, it doesn't look like that. That's wrong. It's pretty and it's simple and we can draw it in a funnel and it's nice and linear, but it's not so simple as that because all of those orders could be all over the shop. Okay, there's no linear order. In truth, it's much more complex. Every one of those yellow dots could be a moment that actually could involve you guys. And you need to be there if you're going to be winners. So, car finance and those micro moments. Critically, mobile is key. And I keep repeating that, mobile is key. You can see here car finance searches. This is between Q3 2012 and Q3 2000, and I've written 14, but I think it's 2015, up by nearly 300%, okay? Desktop's flat, desktop's dying, okay? I suspect most of you in your room still sign off your systems, your advertising, and everything looking at a desktop computer. Yet most of your consumers are consuming on a screen this big. That strikes me as not being great. Most of your consumers are going to be looking at this going forward on this size screen. So if it looks great on the big size screen, that seems odd. We've had customers who, a story with a customer had a video, a great video. It was a great video. If I showed you now, you think it's a great bit of video. But the setup of a story involves some words at the beginning of the video on the screen. Yeah, I'm sure they signed it off of a nice bottle of red in their advertising agency, and everyone was patted on the back and clapped, and it was brilliant. Unfortunately, the majority of their views happened on a mobile phone, but no one could actually read the writing at the beginning of the video, so it was all for nothing. So therefore, make sure you look at everything and you sign it off on how is it going to look on mobile. So last time, if you were listening when I spoke, I talked about the fact that it was essential to be found. So when someone has that micro moment, can they find your business? Is it easy to be found? Are you there at the moment in the batters? When you are found, it's not enough just to be found. You need to be inspirational. And as well as being inspirational, you need to be engaging and have a bit of stickiness that the customer is going to come back for more when they have their next moment. So since I last spoke, we've done a little bit more research into the finance space, because actually, in truth, I find, and I'm just saying this because I'm in front of you and there's lots of you and only one of me, but I find actually the finance space is slightly more forward-looking than perhaps your manufacturing-based colleagues. Okay, so I think there's more of a hope that finance is going to drag you, and you're looking into future mobility much more possibly than manufacturing-based colleagues who are more obsessed with the factory gates and the fact that mobility solutions ultimately probably mean less cars on the road. And therefore, we've looked at a couple of stats, and the stats maybe is no surprise, but I think it's worth debating. First, we looked at actually car buyers. 74% of them research car finance before or during they're actually researching the car. If they don't do it afterwards, even though I would say that the general model is based on selling finance after they found the car and decided on the car. That just isn't the case. Equally, when we ask consumers, nearly half of them are actually researching their car in monthly payment terms. Go and try and do that. That's hard. That's hard to do. So where is the future of finance? Where is the future of automotive finance? Here it is. No, it's not here. This is not the future. Our friend, the business manager, is not the future. And it's not this chap either, who's about to tuck up this nice man in old gentleman with some finance he probably can't afford. No, it's controversial. And it's probably not this lady with all her compliance paperwork here, or even this smart aleck who's knocked all the finance compliant paperwork on the floor to look organized and looks happy with himself. This isn't the future. This is not the frontier we're looking at. Unfortunately, it's here. Well, fortunately or unfortunately, it is the web. Yep, it's websites. This is where the consumer is going to go first. And actually, it's probably not all those desktop websites. It's probably the mobile website. That's the frontier. That's the frontier that you're going to have to conquer. The problem is, at the moment, the consumer feels a bit like this, because you're making it really hard. Yeah? It's really, really frustrating. It's pretty hard on desktop and bloody hard on mobile. It's really, really hard work. There's lots of some great tech out there. There are superb car configurators. You can configure cars, you can spin them, you can change the color, you can look inside them, outside them, you can take them for virtual test drives. That is brilliant. There are also some great finance configurators out there. Yeah? Why do they ever never meet? Why are they always separate from each other? I think most websites look like the organogram of the company beneath them. I said that last time, I'll say that again. Yeah? It mainly looks like the organogram of the company, that you've got a separate after-sales department, a separate fleet department, a separate finance department. That's great, they're separate, but that's your dirty washing in public. Bring it together wherever possible. Bring it together and make it easy. Yeah? Interestingly, We got some stats here that 71% of car buyers would like to begin the finance process online. I didn't say buy a car online. I said begin the process online. Start to begin the process online. Now, I know in the US, I'm not an expert. We've got an expert in the room in terms of the legals and things like that, so I won't profess to be a subject matter expert, and I know there are subtle differences. But there are lots more companies that are starting to have finance that you can start online, that you can take a lot of the dry stuff out of the showroom, yeah, and do it online beforehand. Because actually the consumer wants to save money. I dug up this study. I thought it just made me laugh, and it was 27 minutes precisely that people wanted to save, rather than just say, I wanted to save half an hour. But I guess on average, the consumer wants to save 27 minutes in the business manager's office. I would probably want to save all my life not being in the business manager's office, but they would like to save some time. So therefore, because we're all time poor, because we've all got better things to do than be in a car dealership, but when we also go to the car dealership, we've got much better and more interesting things to do when we're there that are far more experiential, yeah, which you can't do at home, which you can't do on a computer. I came at the end of today, so I apologize for missing most of the day, but I came at the end and there was some really good debate about the future of a dealership. And I have a feeling there's definitely a role for bricks and mortar in some shape or form, because we're feeling a physical object that smells nice, that you want to feel the wind in your hair, etc., and you want to speak to a subject matter expert, and hopefully the salesman is that. What I don't want to do is go bogged down in loads and loads and loads of paperwork when I get there. But actually, there is some hope that actually, interestingly, does this the death knell of dealerships selling finance, for instance? Well, actually, 63% of consumers are more likely to buy F&I in a dealership when they get more info online. But classically, when I speak to a lot of big dealer groups, I say, I can't possibly put my finance offering online. Yeah? I've got to save it until they come in, and then I'll get them. But they will never come in, because they'll come in and say, no, I'm actually buying cash, which we all know is code for actually I've got my borrowing elsewhere. Or they get from a broker, and all you'll get is a referral, and won't get anything at all. So you've got to go upstream. But if you do go upstream, and you do put your offering transparently online, the consumer will give you a chance when he comes in, it would imply. And therefore, our smiling chap might continue to smile with his nice clean desk with his compliance paperwork underneath. Yeah? Now, in truth, also, quite a lot of his finance compliance work could have been done online, which probably makes it more compliant, and he can't lose it, and it can't fall in his bin. And we should do more and more of that online. So, am I to time? This is amazing if I'm going to get it on or not. Do I get a prize? So, therefore, in conclusion, be found, be inspirational, be engaging, but my plea, if nothing else, is be easy. Just make it easy. And therefore, think from a consumer perspective. Yeah? Get your grandma to try and buy finance. Get your son to try and buy finance. It's really hard, but you can make it so much easier, and technology can help you do that. Thank you very much indeed.